I'm Julie Saunders.
I'm Jan Wilson. Julie and I both have experience as school librarians, and we've worked together as district library leaders.
In each episode, we'll dive into our profession with interviews and meaningful content to inspire you.
The ideas and opinions shared by any host, guest, or listener are their own and do not represent those of any respective school district.
Welcome to Library Exchange. Welcome to a new episode, everyone. We're glad you're spending time with us today because we have a guest who understands the life-changing power of reading.
He is a Super Bowl champion, an author, the founder of the Share the Magic Foundation, which is a youth literacy foundation. He is one of the most passionate literacy advocates you will ever meet.
And there's more exciting news. It was announced recently that he will headline the Georgia Educational Technology Conference this November as a featured keynote speaker, so you still have plenty of time to register to see him in person. Welcome to Library Exchange, Malcolm.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And I'm going to tell all of your audience that intro was very polished.
Oh, thank you.
Conversation we were having before you hit record. That's where all the magic was happening.
Yay! I love that.
I don't want anyone to be fooled and say, this all scripted. No, these are two amazing people that like to have fun. So this conversation is going to be fun.
I love that. So, Malcolm, we have listeners in the U.S. and internationally, and some may not know your background and story regarding literacy. Will you take a few minutes to share your relationship with reading growing up and how you overcame those challenges?
Well, I'll start with what could be a shock statement. I had no relationship with reading growing up. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Valdosta, Georgia. Valdosta, Georgia is home to the winningest high school football program in the country, the Valdosta Wildcats. My high school team has won more football games than any other high school that has ever existed. I went from being in that environment to playing for the University of Georgia Bulldogs, go Dogs. And after that, I was drafted to play for the New England Patriots, where I was fortunate enough to be a part of a Super Bowl winning team. Mm-hmm. When you ask about my relationship with reading, I have to go back to Valdosta because the most natural thing for a child like me in that community to do was to play sports. And that's what I decided to do. There was no clear or tangible example of anyone taking education or reading anywhere that was culturally desirable. No one was walking up and down our street saying, if you read, you can succeed, or touting their educational prowess with a book in their hand. That wasn't the reality for me, and that's not the reality for many communities. Mm-hmm. And if we dive a bit deeper, I will confess that even when I look back on those moments, it should not come as a surprise because the student with the highest GPA was not featured on the front page of the newspaper. Mm. It was the child who had scored the most touchdowns. Mm-hmm. When you completed a book, no one clapped or cheered, but when you made a first down catch, well, the stadium erupted.
Right.
It was just obvious. So I thought that football was more important than reading because I had all of these examples around me proving that to be the case. And by the way, you take that and you generalize it at a massive scale, like in American society, it's still the same. Mm-hmm. The most educated person is not the most celebrated. It is the athlete who performs best in whatever sport that gets the most attention. So should we be surprised that our students strive to be exactly what they see every adult celebrating?
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
So true. True.
But with all that being said, to answer the question with a tight response, growing up, I did not understand the importance of reading. Mm-hmm. Once I got to the University of Georgia, when I was placed in a different atmosphere and exposed to more that the world had to offer, I realized that my perspective was flawed and I had to make a choice. I would either accept everything as it was or take a new course of action and decide to be a reader.
I really think football had to have been something where you learned goal setting too. So I imagine that when you decided you were going to set that goal for reading and you were going to be a good reader, I imagine you put everything you had into it.
Well, I've learned that progress or getting better at something is a quite simple formula. In football, as a child, the coaches always said, start with the fundamentals, which means you start from the easiest place and then you build your skills upon that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I decided to become a reader, I thought about that same concept and I just asked myself, what's the equivalent of starting from the easiest point with books? And that's how I gravitated towards picture books. And that's why I ended up writing them. Because as a 19-year-old playing football at the University of Georgia, I was reading, The Very Hungry Caterpillar to gain confidence and learn sentence structure and build vocabulary, those sorts of things.
So, Malcolm, did you not have a school library in elementary school, or it just wasn't a place you gravitated towards?
It was not a place I gravitated towards. I remember in elementary school when the Scholastic Book Fair would come.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically enough, I write books with Scholastic.
Yeah.
Right.
But then, I would spend 20 minutes holding Captain Underpants.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd try to walk out with it. And they'd say, well, wait a minute, that's $7.99. And, then I had to put it back.
Right.
Mhm.
In middle school, I remember there being a media center and there being, I think I now know it to be Lexile level reading material.
Mm-hmm.
I love looking at pictures with animals. I was a huge crocodile hunter fan. And in high school, I remember the library, but each book that I've written thus far features a library for a reason.
Mhm.
Because by the time I became, a young adult, I was able to actively alter my perspective of the library
Mhm.
through my desire to do so. But in elementary, middle, and high school, I'm just simply accepting things for what they are.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
And I don't want to say this knowing your relationship to libraries, but I want to be authentic and I want to be honest. They were never positioned as places for community,
Mhm.
for enthusiasm, for excitement, for celebration, for all the dopamine hits you need as a child to want to engage. But you start looking at other stuff, you wonder why the kid wants to play the video game all day.
Right.
Well,
Mhm.
every 20 seconds, it's giving him some accolade
Yeah.
or her, So for me as a kid, yes, I remember those places, but they were never positioned to be something that I would gravitate towards because when you went in there, well, the rules were pretty straightforward. Be quiet.
So, Malcolm, you're already kind of answering my question, so I'm
Yep.
going to ask it while we continue. Is as librarians and educators, we see students every day. Where you were feeling frustrated with reading or not able to purchase a book at the book fair. So, what message would you share with school librarians who work every day to help students to discover a love of reading? You mentioned community already.
Well, it has to be culturally relevant.
Mm-hmm.
It has to somehow intertwine with the long-term desire of not just that student, but the entire community in the school and outside of the school, if you want people to engage at a deeper level where they can actually extract the value out of an amazing place like a library. To me, the library represents the past, present, and future. And that's a big deal, especially if you're trying to figure out how to go from being in an environment where resources are slim to a resource rich environment. Well, the library hosts all or majority of the information you need access to gain the intellectual capabilities to move yourself into different social groups. I believe that wholeheartedly. That's why I keep writing about libraries and the books that I'm able to write. But to answer your question, it has to evolve. The concept has to evolve into something that's much more present today because unless that atmosphere is elevated to the same degree as Friday Night Lights, you're gonna keep competing with these and it's just going to be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one thing that helped was when I realized that reading or having the ability to read proficiently would impact my socioeconomic status. Well, my perspective of the activity changed because, oh, this is something that can ensure my mom doesn't have to struggle her whole life, that I could help her by gaining intellect through reading. Well, that's a lot different than just saying read to pass class.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Whether you're integrating AI tools, supporting students with disabilities, or finding your way back to library joy, Bloomsbury Libraries Unlimited is your go-to provider of professional development. Practical and accessible guides written by librarians like you help you to grow your skills and expand your impact.
Get 20% off professional development books for school librarians using code LibraryExchange20 at bloomsbury.com/BLU.
I know people like to say, well, you want to enjoy reading, you want to have fun. And sure, I love it. I want students to enjoy it. But at the end of the day, whether you enjoy it or not, you have to do it. And I would compare it to playing sports. I despise lifting weights. Didn't like anything about it. Cardio, I'm all in. Playing the game, I'm all in. Hey, let's put 245 pounds on the bar and see if Malcolm can get it off of his chest. Sounds terrible, doesn't it?
It does sound terrible.
But every single day, from the time I was in middle school until I stopped playing, when it was time to lift weights, I lift those weights because I clearly understood how that was going to contribute to my long-term desire. Well, we have to position reading like that too.
Absolutely. Yep. The practice is important, but also the motivation. And I wonder, when you're going to some of the schools that you have visits at, do you feel that there are some school libraries that have more of a reading culture and more of a sense of belonging? Like, can you tell when you go and
I
visit the
know
schools?
I've been doing this for 10 years now. I know as soon as I walk through the front door. You can feel it. That's kind of an arbitrary response, right? You can feel it. What does that mean? I don't really know what that means. But it's no different than when you're at a sporting event and you feel momentum.
Right.
Explain that. Well, good luck.
Right.
That's me trying to explain what it feels like when I walk into a school. I can feel the energy of the school.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
can feel a climate. You can feel the climate. Will you share information about your in-school programs? They're called Read with Malcolm, correct?
Yeah. So back in 2016, I created Share the Magic Foundation, which hosts Read with Malcolm programs. We have in-school programs and we have a virtual platform for educators to use. Our in-school programs require for me to be present, and that's where you hear me say I'm going to all these different communities. I go in and I host a reading rally and community-based events in the school. It's really designed for increasing book ownership and also sending that culturally relevant message, trying to connect the dots so students can begin shifting the cultural narrative around reading and its importance. And then we have a platform for educators to engage students in literacy-based activities. We call them our reading challenges. Our biggest one is called Read Bowl, where classrooms across the country and the globe get to compete within a 4-week period of time to see who can read the most on average. We have about 1 million students participate in that one annually.
Wow. 1 million?
Yeah, and I go
Is that global? Is that global also?
Yeah, it's
Do people
global.
in other countries? Great.
Yeah. So we have about 19 other countries participating in that. Don't ask me to list them all.
Okay. Can you
Yeah.
list 18 of them?
Yeah.
Right.
I could get a couple of them, but I'm not going to.
It's okay.
And that one is obviously more scalable because I don't have to be present. Teachers run them. And we have 4 total positioned around the calendar to create year-round programming opportunities. And the virtual reading platform is free. Now, if you want me to come to your school, the cost of that is the cost of the books. Because of my experience as a child, not always having the financial means to purchase books, if I show up, then every kid's going to get one at no expense.
Oh, I love that.
No way.
And we find a way to accomplish that. Either it's fundraising, the school has community support, or the school has Title I funding. We figure it out. But the children and their families will not bear the cost of that book. That's not,
Wow.
yeah. So
Amazing.
It's so great the ways in which you've figured out a way to get books in the hands of kids and to inspire kids to read. And I think about that Read Bowl, even though you're not there and present, it's your domino effect that is spreading for all these other kids to have these opportunities. It's really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Does it feel, I mean, do you feel like you're making a difference with this? Because it feels to me like you are.
I'm not in it for that.
I know.
I'm in it. Well, yeah, I'm not in it to make myself feel good about anything. I'm just in it because I think it matters.
So
Yeah.
that leads me to my next question.
Yeah.
So think about learning to read later in life and really digging in. How has becoming a reader changed the way you see yourself?
Whoa, now that is a good question that I have
Thank you.
never asked. Well, reading made me more self-reflective. So accountability skyrocketed. And I realized that a lot of the things happening around me or to me had something to do with the way I was perceiving the world around me. And reading taught me how to do that because I was able to step outside of my own shoes and jump into someone else's. And that is powerful. And that is freedom. That is how communities and a country moves forward. Now, you will hear phrases like you gain empathy for, other situations, and that's great, but you gain more accountability as a person. And you're forced to look in the mirror and deal with what you see if you are a avid reader. So the acceptance of a mediocre performance, the acceptance of inadequate responses, all of that begins to be challenged, not by some external factor that you can argue with, but
Right.
with yourself if you're good at it. And that matters. And to me, that's why I say reading has the power to alter the behavior of the world because we'll stop arguing with each other and we'll start arguing with ourselves. And that's how the greatest form of evolution takes place.
I completely agree.
In my opinion, that's what I've experienced. You just can't be afraid to look at yourself and say, I really need to do something about this because it's not great.
Right. Right. Yeah,
That's
I
it.
love that. It's
Yeah.
self-reflective. Great
Well,
answer.
it does. It forces you to say, I have only looked at this through my own lens because it's the only life I've had. It forces
Right.
you to look at things through a different lens.
Well, and it also lends itself to how we really try to have our libraries have representation in the book collection and making sure that students can see themselves, but also see other people. And, you might have heard along the way, the windows, the
Of course.
doors, the sliding glass doors, where you can, or the mirrors. I forgot the mirrors.
Mirrors, windows, and sliding
Yes,
glass
thank
doors.
you, Jan.
Yeah.
Where you're reflecting back on yourself, you're looking out the window at something else, and then you can go back and forth between the worlds through the sliding glass doors. And it
Yeah.
really does create full human because you are all these ideas that you have to wrestle with yourself to figure out who you are and who the world is around you.
Yeah. And if you're honest with yourself, if it also reinforces humility because you realize, man, in this entire ecosystem, and I don't want to get too philosophical here, but we are specks in comparison to what all of this thing represents. And it's liberating in some degree. It's also concerning in some degree.
Yeah.
Each day, I
Absolutely.
guess you can decide which one you want it to represent.
Do you have a memory of a child or a parent saying something to you that's kind of stuck with you?
Anytime someone tells me that I've inspired them to read, it sticks with me.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Because for the first, I'm 32, so I started playing football. I don't know what grade are you in at? Like, how old are you in fourth grade?
Probably like 9
9.
or 10.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go with 10 so I can have like a good brown nipple.
Easy math.
I started playing football at 10, and from the time I was 10 until I was 25, 26, I had only been acknowledged for my athletic performances. Great catch, good block, man, you're fast. I didn't know you could jump that high. Wow, your hands are big. And so subconsciously, you begin to think of yourself how the world perceives and values you. And then
Mhm.
someone says something out of nowhere and it's like, whoa, what do you mean? So I think
Mm,
I'm still taken aback anytime that happens.
mm.
Yeah.
I know that you don't want it to be all about you and you're not in it for you, but along with the help of our listeners, we need to get you in front of as many students as
Yes.
possible. I've enjoyed meeting you and thank you today for your time.
It's been a pleasure having you join us today. We will have a link to readwithmalcolm.com in our show notes. Thank you for the work you're doing and for reminding us that it's never too late to pick up a book.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you both.
We exchanged ideas, and now it's time for the recap. I loved talking with Malcolm about his reading journey.
Yes.
There are a few key points that I want to highlight from the conversation. To start, I feel so sad for the little boy that did not feel welcome in his school library.
Yeah, it makes me sad too.
I mean, the truth is how often we have librarians out there that are so focused on being the keeper of the books that they have no idea how they have created a barrier to library services for students in their schools.
Yes, he unfortunately remembered his school libraries and just the be quiet rules.
Mhm.
And I guess those types of spaces are still out there, Julie, but there are times when it's okay to have an active space.
Yes, absolutely.
And like other librarians, I've worked with administrators whose vision was the library is a silent, studious climate. And that means we need to accept the challenge and change the mindset of the adults in the building that the library is also a space for collaboration, creativity, and celebrating.
Yes, absolutely. And just, self reflecting, even in the most welcoming libraries, there are students in your school that do not feel like they belong in the library. So let's
Hmm.
think about that.
Hmm.
What can you do to reach out to struggling students or students who may seem uninterested, but really it's a defense mechanism because they don't know how to make the connection? Be the connector that they need. Seek out the students that need you.
Yes. Speaking of need, his memory of having to put that book back at the Scholastic Book Fair because he didn't have money broke my heart. And I know
Mm,
that's the reality for many
yeah.
students. And I hope that librarians take inspiration from his foundation's mission, which is, to get more books in the home, actively seek out Title I funding, community grants, or fundraise so that finances never prevent a child from owning a book. And as a reminder, if you work at a Title I school, set up an account with First Book Marketplace because they have popular books and sometimes their paperbacks are only $1 each and you can purchase books in bulk for bigger savings.
Yeah, great ideas. So, librarians out there listening, please make your students feel welcome in your space. Seek out the resistant students. Go out of your way to find them and always work tirelessly to get books in the hands of kids.
Yes, I also noted from talking to him that we need to remember that getting to know our school community, the culture, and their interests will help us meet their needs. This is especially important for our events and programs that we offer in our spaces because you're going to attract maybe those reluctant students and their families if your programs match what's important to them. So, if soccer is popular, offer a World Cup of Reading challenge or something like
Yes.
that. You have to know what will build connections. One time, I designed an activity, Julie, based on the board game Clue. Professor Plum in the kitchen with the lead
Yeah.
pipe. It failed big time because students were not familiar with clues.
Oh.
And it ended with Mrs. Wilson on the floor with exhaustion from explaining how the game worked. You can laugh at me. I laugh about it now, but epic failure.
That's all right. So if you want to know more about some of the amazing school programs that Malcolm provides, you can visit readwithmalcolm.com.
And to end, you guys, Malcolm just reminds us that reading's greatest gift is teaching students how to step outside their own shoes, build humility, and foster self-reflection. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back July 13th.
Make sure to visit our website at www.libraryexchangepodcast.com.
You'll find episode notes and links. You can even submit your questions or inspiring stories that may be featured on the podcast.
If you're looking for some swag for your library or book-loving friends, visit libraryexchange.etsy.com.
That's a lot of URLs, so I'm glad you had to say all of that, Julie.
Thanks for joining us. We can't wait to have you back for our next episode of Library Exchange.